What's up, guys? Latest trip to the Goodwill drove me a little bit mental. Why do I say that? Well, in reality, I picked up 2 or 3 records on the topic of mental health, mental illness, mindfulness, and we'll get into those. I'll save those towards the end. Some meditation, some mind control and hypnosis. 5 records on Friday picked up at the Goodwill, between $1 and $2 each. And is that a cover shot for the video? Thanks for clicking on the clickbait. The Goodwill is driving me mental. Yes, it is. The fact that they've raised their prices to $2 in some places. Let me go through these 5 records. The ones at the end have a pretty cool story attached to each one of them. How about this one right here? Stravinsky, The Rite of Spring, Le Sacre du Printemps, the rite or ritual of springtime. And I was attracted to this cover. I've got 2 or 3 recordings of The Rite of Spring, but the cover on this is a fantastic photograph. Happens to be by Richard Avedon, who's a great well-known photographer. And Stravinsky himself does the liner notes on here, and he tells a couple of cool stories. Number 1, he was at the premiere of The Rite of Spring in 1913 when it drove people absolutely mental, out of their mind. And it wasn't just the music, but it was the ballet. Rite of Spring is actually a ballet. And not only is the music kind of bold and controversial for its day, but the dancing, what was going on stage. A bunch of native pagans jump around on stage and grab a virgin and sacrifice her to the pagan gods. So maybe that drove people a little crazy. So Stravinsky was there. This is too loud. I don't know. Maybe. How's that? Stravinsky was there, and he was actually very angry that the crowd reacted so poorly to the piece. He talks later about how Disney came to him and said they wanted to use The Rite of Spring for Fantasia. Well, he says a Disney film. I assume they mean Fantasia. And they said to him, we'd like to offer you $5,000. We don't have to pay you anything because it's a public domain work, but here's $5,000. And at the end of the day, when the money passed through all of his agents and publishers, he was left with only $1,200. So he's a little annoyed. Who hasn't been ripped off by the Disney company, folks? I mean, really, did you ever spend $175 to get into Disneyland? It is ridiculous. And then, is there another story here? Maybe that's it. 3 stories. Anyway, Rite of Spring, Igor Stravinsky, in his own words, and conducted by Igor with the Columbia Symphony, number 1. See how quick we're going through these? This one's real quick. George Shearing Quintet, doing an evening with George Shearing. George Shearing, this is very loungy, cocktail jazz, you know. If you're having a cocktail party with people who don't like jazz, throw this on there. Very mellow. You can always find his stuff at the Goodwill. And then I found a classical piece. What's his name? Emile Gilels doing Beethoven Piano Concerto. I like the hype sticker. Beethoven's 200th anniversary was 50 years ago. Well, 50 years later, this year, Beethoven's 250th anniversary is kicking off. So look for a lot of stuff going on come December about Beethoven. Okay, now let's get to the mental health issues here. Finally got this record. I've been looking at it for years and finally see a decent copy for $1 or $2 at the Goodwill. Music for Zen Meditation by Tony Scott on clarinet. Japanese guy's name, so I can't really pronounce. Shinichi Yuize and Hozan Yamamoto. Okay, passable. On Verve, 1964. Don't know what that means. What the heck? What are you doing there? Oh, ads. Gotta have ads on YouTube. Where were we? Music for Zen Meditation on Verve. And Tony Scott was a sort of a conventional jazz clarinet player. Did a lot of records with all kinds of big jazz people in the 40s, 50s. He did 2 or 3 records with Bill Evans, among other people. And I guess he got a little disenchanted with where his career was going, and he moved to Japan, and he got all into native and folk music. So he did this record, Music for Zen Meditation. It's got a gatefold, by the way. And it's really mellow. It's like you could meditate to it or you could just chill out to it. It's not overtly musical or hummable. It's just, very meditative. It is billed as the very first New Age record of all time. Some people call it the first world music record of all time, where Americans go over and get the native folks to play with them, perform with them, I should say. Check out some of the song titles. The Murmuring Sound of the Mountain Stream. That goes really well with Rite of Spring. A Quivering Leaf. Ask the Winds. After the Snow, the Fragrance. To drift like clouds. Anyway, I listened to this a couple times. It's cool. I'm glad I found it. I'm glad I got a good price on it. And if you see that at the Goodwill, go for it. And I'm into meditation, believe it or not. I'm not sure I would listen to this. I listen to self-directed meditation with a couple of iPhone apps, Calm, and what's the other one called? Waking Up with Sam Harris. If you have stress, anxiety, depression, other problems in your life, meditation, it's worth checking into, guys. It really is. It takes a while to get into and understand how it works, but check it out. In a similar vein, what about hypnotism? Okay, let's change up the record, and I'll play you some hypnotism music. Here's a very bizarre record I got. I've never seen before. I've never heard of it. Figure Control record. I thought, what is that? Like geometric figures? No, it's about the lady's figure, the female figure. Figure Control record for women only. Guaranteed or your money back through the great world-famous Dr. Dante, world-famous hypnotist. He uses the Asian method, the Asian neurotheonetic self-hypnotism method. This is not a rip-off, guys. This is 100% guaranteed. And he's a real dude. I looked him up, and he's actually a fascinating guy, Dr. Dante. He's quite full of himself if he puts his own statue next to him. Is that him? I guess. Who else could that be? Now, remember, this is the 1950s. Things were a little different, but I'm going to show you the back. This is the only way for ladies to reduce their figure, and the only intelligent way, according to this. No habit-forming pills, no fad diets, no tiring exercises, no steam baths, none of those loosening skin massages. This young lady bought this record. She looked like this. She listened to the record a couple times, and there she is a couple weeks later. Truly an amazing transformation. The weight-reducing record, it's proven, absolutely proven. Why are we still listening to this noisy stuff? I'm sorry. I'm going to put on this record so you can hear it.
If you'd like to, ladies, you may take your shoes off.
Take your shoes off, ladies.
It does have a tendency of relaxing you, especially with high heels.
If you're wearing high heels, especially.
Warm floor.
Can you hear that?
Now put your feet flat on the floor.
Put your feet on the floor.
Fine.
He's got a very relaxing voice, doesn't
I
he?
want you to unfold your hands and put them on your legs. There you go. Elbows back, and just let yourself relax. Let us all take a deep breath. It will keep us relaxed.
Listen to him in the background a little bit. So, I looked at this Dr. Dante. He's a real guy. He's actually very famous. According to this, he's an internationally famous lecturer, consultant, lectured and has degrees from a dozen universities. He was actually in the news for many reasons. He was actually married to glamorous film star Lana Turner, and him and Lana Turner each had 6 or 7 spouses. He was married to Lana Turner. It only lasted about 6 months. He stole all her jewelry, and she sued him, but he didn't go to jail for that. Actually, he did go to jail. Later, he was sentenced to about 2.5 years for arranging the murder of a rival hypnotist. That really sounds like the Joe Exotic story to me. I would love to see a Netflix movie about Dr. Dante along the lines of Joe Exotic. So he served some prison time for that. He was sentenced to prison again for fraud. He had all these diploma mills set up. He had all these hypnotherapy schools set up. You could spend $400 for a weekend and learn to be a certified hypnotherapist. And then you could, after only 2 weeks training, you could go around curing people of anxiety, depression, alcoholism, weight loss, smoking, nail biting, whatever you wanted. That eventually got raised the awareness of the authorities, and they came after him for fraud. So when he was sentenced to, I think, 5 years in prison, he escaped to Mexico. And anyway, Dr. Dante, also known as Ron Pellar, fascinating guy. Look at the cool stuff you run into just by picking up a record at the Goodwill. I mean, I never would have heard of this. I never would have looked into it, but Dr. Dante, what a guy. He created the World Hypnodontia Society. He created some kind of a church called the Science Mind Church. I think he was trying to copy L. Ron Hubbard there and make millions of dollars with his own religion. But he ended up kind of in disgrace, living in a mobile home in California, and died of cancer. There's a documentary on him I'd love to get my hands on, so if anybody knows anything about Dr. Ron Pellar, if any of you took his class and are trained hypnotherapists, I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, that's it, guys. 5 records, some of them completely mental, from the Goodwill, and I'm not that much of a mental case. And I hope you subscribe to my channel, Vinyl Rundown. Let me know what you think. How's your mental health doing? And I'll talk to you later, guys. Thanks again.